All right, welcome back to Mr. Saucedo's YouTube videos. Today we're going to be talking about competition and one of my favorite lessons. So first, let's talk a little bit about habitats. So habitats are abiotic and biotic factors in a species environment. And so it answers the question, where does a species live? And obviously we're aware, right, that organisms can live in a variety of different environments, but the habitat really is like a place. And remember, abiotic factors are organisms. Abiotic factors are factors that are not alive. Biotic factors are things that are alive. Okay. And we already previously talked about populations and communities and all that stuff. And so habitat includes community aspects, like what organisms are living in that area also. Okay. Now, what is a niche though? So a niche, sometimes it says, like sometimes people say niche. I say niche. It is a species function within the habitat. In other words, what does it do? What role does it play in this environment? You can picture a habitat as being a location where a bunch of organisms are doing their business every day. And you want to know, what does your species specifically do within the environment? And so there are three essential elements to a niche to answer that question of what they do. The first thing is, what do they eat? Okay. What eats it? Where does it fall in the food chain or the food web? Is it a generalist or a specialist? Again, all terms we've already used before. How does it compete for food? Is it in competition with not just members of its own species, but with other species? Where does it fit? And so food is an essential element because a lot of times we want to know what eats what. Why? Well, we already talked about keystone species in the first semester, right? And so remember, keystone species are extremely important. When they're removed from the environment, everything kind of goes to hell. So we want to know, what exactly does it eat, because sometimes it can cause a cascade effect that affects everything else in the food web. What about its behavior? What time of day is it active? How does it interact with its own species? How does it interact with other species? When and where does it reproduce? These are all good things to know because it can let us know what types of species it's interacting with. When it's active, that lets us know what sort of things it would be able to hunt. Knowing when and where it reproduces, same thing. Now we're getting important time information about the species. Necessities: how much water does it need? What temperature can it survive in? What oxygen level does it need? How is it adapting to change? Again, all of these things are important in letting us know what sort of effect does it have on the environment and on all the species in its environment. And so I always kind of think of it like this. So for necessities, right, we have like a temperature on the Y, we have water and moisture level. And so for like a penguin or something, right, we would have like a lower temperature and it would need a decent amount of water or moisture. I mean, obviously they're aquatic, right? A lizard, on the other hand, would be probably more over here. It needs less water probably than a penguin. Needs higher temperatures. If it gets too cold, it wouldn't be able to warm itself up. You could do this for flowers. So lilies, okay, need tropical conditions, so the right amount of temperature and a lot of water. Whereas a cactus would probably need high temperatures and low water. In fact, not even high. It could also probably be pretty low. Succulents are pretty adaptive when it comes to temperature. But you get the idea. Like it you can literally graph it as a point. You can put it as a box or a range, but it's a good way of kind of just mentally picturing what's going on. And there are three groupings for when animals are active, right? So for behavior, there are some key terms we need to define here. Nocturnal is probably the one that everybody's familiar with. That means they're active mostly at night, like wolves. Diurnal means they're active mostly during the day, like most birds. There are some obvious exceptions, okay, like owls. Crepuscular is pretty cool. They're active at dawn and dusk. So a lot of times they are very sensitive to orange light. And so when they sense that, they know, okay, great, that's like sun. They don't know it's sunrise or sunset, but they know, okay, I'm supposed to be awake doing stuff. And so there are plenty of examples of nocturnal things like raccoons, or diurnal things like hawks, crepuscular things like beetles, that you could totally look up or find.